You know how I do.
Let's get cracking!
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Dota 2 Champions League US. When I say League US, I always do that. American Division, where we're going to be getting into a bit of Brazil versus USA. We're going to be having the Navi US squad facing up against CNB, or formerly CNB. As apparently they're going to be going back to their old name, which is Swaggin' Tiger, or something along those marks. I never knew exactly how to pronounce it, but we already have the draft underway. Go ahead and welcome in my co-caster, Mr. Pandago is going to be joining me. Again, a good friend of mine, an ex-player from Team eHug. Speaking of which, the eHug whole invitational thing is coming up, isn't it?
Hello, and I think so. I actually just found out. I think it actually is tomorrow. They haven't really posted it anywhere, but I've been talking to people, and supposedly so I don't know if they're actually like casting it or what the whole deal with that thing is, but I literally just found out like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, I take it you're not playing in it.
No, I'm not.
You don't have a team right now.
Nope.
Well, what do you think so far about this matchup, man? We got CNB. You probably played against them, scrimmed numerous times. They're a team it's the team that's brought King RD back. I mean, he was one of the names from the Brazilian team. He was like the only Brazilian player a lot of U.S. players could actually routinely bring up is King RD. He was actually a really good Brazilian player back in the day. Then he dropped off for a while. I'm not entirely sure if he just didn't have a team or what. But besides him, the only real names that I recognize maybe Claude's 40R. I've seen both of them around, but I'm sure you've scrimmed this Brazilian team and played against them in some of the American tournaments, right?
Yeah, last year, I mean, or I guess earlier this year, the last season of Dota, I guess if that's what you would call it.
Yeah.
We played against them a lot. I feel like they were doing way better pre-TI4 though. Like now, I think they just sort of like been playing worse. Either that or teams have been playing better. I don't really know. It's hard to tell sometimes which one it is, but they just seem to like be performing better in pre-TI4, and now they're just struggling. But we'll see how they do.
And what about this other member here, Navi US? They're currently running with just for MJW being that's his other name is it Renegade?
Team pick.
He has two different names, right?
It's a Degenerate.
Or Degenerate. That's right. It was something along those lines. And I actually. Like, I've seen him around, obviously, the last couple of casts that I've done. I have the stand-in, and I've been talking about him. But do you actually know him at all? Where did he come from?
I know he's, like, old school.
Really?
I think he's been around for a while. Yeah, if I remember correctly. Like, he's been playing for a while, but I honestly don't know him that well. I think he's even been on teams before. Okay. He's just, like, one of the players that I don't really know anything about. So,
yeah. Okay.
But I'm sure he's very capable if they're asking him to stand in.
Yeah, he's a player that it was just kind of like, when I first saw him standing in, I had no idea who he was, so I was like, okay, I thought he was actually going to be like a really new player, like maybe didn't play Dota 1, but has made his way into Dota 2 or something like that. It's interesting. Maybe he went by different names back in the day or something, but...
I think, if I'm thinking of the right person, it's Bananas in Your Face was his old name. But I don't know, like, if that... Honestly, I think it was like MJW Bananas in Your Face or something. He had a really weird name. I might be mixing people up, so I'm not 100% certain. But so I'm sure Twitch chat can help us out there. They're all-knowing.
Well, we're actually on Daily Motion for this tournament, so maybe Daily Motion chat.
Well, I'm sure the Twitch chat people that are currently using Daily Motion can help us out. There we go.
We have
10
Skywrath Mage,
seconds
Centaur,
remaining.
Brewmaster, and the Enigma picked up by Navi US, the Earthshaker, Viper,
5
Shadow Shaman, and
seconds
Clockwork now for Swag and Tiger. Navi US have a
Reserve
crazy
time.
amount of team fight, and have actually gotten themselves the
Navi
Enigma
US's
junglers, their most
turn to
recent
ban.
pickup here. I guess they're just assuming that Swag and Tiger aren't going to have the opportunity to go for an aggro trying or trying to abuse that fact. But in general, looks like Swag and Tiger have a lot more, like, I would say, skirmish power, while Navi US have,
10
like, the big
seconds
time
remaining.
team fight ultimate.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I wouldn't even really rely too heavily on Enigma's ultimate though, at least until he gets BKB
Reserve
against
time.
Clockwork and Earthshaker. It's more of like the threat of it, but if he can pull it off and get a good ultimate, then yeah, Navi US's team fight is way stronger, but I don't think he'll be able to reliably do that.
Dire team pick.
We have the Morphling banned away by Swag and Tiger, while the Tinker was banned out by Navi US. I guess making sure that they don't have to deal with one of the certainly the most obnoxious hero, I would say, in the current meta. Silencer is going to be the last pickup, though, by Swag and Tiger. So a one-position Silencer, unless they plan on running an Earthshaker core. But I'm looking at this as a one-position Silencer, Viper in the mid, and an off-lane Clockwork.
Yeah, that's most likely what it's going to be.
Why do you think they... I mean, the Silencer obviously is really good versus all these, like, big-time ultimates, but why do you think they chose to pick him up as a core rather than trying to grab
10
him as a support and pick up a
remaining.
different carry as a one?
5 seconds.
It just came
remaining.
down to the last pick, I think, and they're sort of like, well, it's really good against Brewmaster if he can be quick
Reserve
enough to
time.
actually stop him, like when he blinks in, or even preemptively do it, and if they can blow him up through the silence. Like, they have a lot of follow-up to it, too. So it's pretty good against, like, Navi's lineup right now. They don't really have any strong sort of, I guess, damage dealers outside of the heroes that use their ultimates. So, like, they can stop Brewmaster. It's okay, well, Slark is, now they added that, it's kind of sort of the exception. Like, he can do a lot of damage even through silence. But the other heroes, like, they have to cast their spells to do damage. So if, like, they jump with Clockwork, or Shadow Shaman gets a good jump, or they Viper Strike someone and then they global, they're really not going to be able to fight during global. So if Swag and Tiger can use the global effectively, like before BKBs are gotten by Navi, then I think they're going to have a way stronger team fight now. Like, they can just run over them as long as they have global. But then, so Navi just needs to, like, try and take either split push or take favorable fights when they don't have global, or they need to take fights when global is down, and then when global's up, they just need to sort of avoid it or try and bait it out and not take, like, fights when global's up.
Right.
So I think basically when Silencer's picked like this in this sort of game, it's like everything is around his ultimate. And if teams can use it well, then they're going to win. And if the other team can make him misuse it, then they're going to win.
Right.
I mean, obviously that's... Oh, wait. Is... Yeah,
Prepare
4DR is the
for
carry player.
battle.
Okay, so it is a core Silencer.
Yep, looks like they're going to be starting out with an invasion into the enemy jungle here, while Klotz is actually held off on buying any items, is now going to bring himself Stout Shield as well as Tangos. Not entirely sure why he went for 3 branches in the beginning, was holding off. I figured, at the very least, if you're going to be doing something like that, I would figure you'd be waiting to see, to make sure they're not running an aggro try or something like that. Smoke immediately going to be popped here as they attempt to check out Snake King, but unfortunately for them, pounce away, and the Fisher won't be able to get them in range. So the attempted First Blood, not going to be able to do anything for Swag and Tiger. They don't even try and ward up the Enigma's jungle. In that case, don't you try and just, like, even if you do get scattered out,
30 seconds
aren't
to
you
battle.
still supposed to, obligated to try and just push into the enemy jungle despite the fact, and just try and get those wards up, even if they are able to see you sometimes? Just try and push away those heroes as much as possible, and then get your supports in the back. Maybe able to sneak in some vision here and there. At the very least, you obligate the Enigma to be able to buy counter wards and try and guess where those wards are.
I would say in most situations,
The
yeah, that'd be
battle
their plan, but they
begins.
actually don't even have observer words, if I'm looking at this correctly.
Wait,
I'm
what?
double checking everyone's, like, inventories, and yeah, they didn't buy any wards, so they never had the intention of even warding the jungle in the first place. They're just like, we're gonna go get a kill, and then we're gonna go lane. But I definitely think that when, like, people pick Enigma, that's the easiest way to deal with it, especially if you're against a Radiant Enigma, because it's way harder to do the sort of, like, I guess we'll call it the Zai ancient pulling, sort of farming the ancients with your level 1 Eidolons if you get blocked and can't unblock the jungle. It's way harder to do that on Radiant.
Right.
So I mean, it's really, really good against a Radiant Enigma if you can block his camps. And yeah, they didn't even try.
Didn't even buy wards. I have no idea what to say about that one. Klotz is going to be caught out of here in the bottom lane. They probably won't have enough damage, but 1437 will be body blocking quite extensively on Klotz, and now we'll be able to get that little bit of extra damage. Clockwork's sure to have a pretty terrible time, though the lane is actually going to be pushing here, so he can actually pick up level 2, maybe even level 3, and relative security, despite the fact that he's up against one of the toughest harassers in the game. Meanwhile, middle, Ned has been routinely trying to gank up this Clockwork and get off some sort of consistent block off, but he's failed on both rotations so far. That being said, the Silencer is probably not a bad matchup against the Broodmaster, all things considered, right? I mean, you've got the Orb Attack of Glaives of Wisdom to really spam against the Broodmaster. He's tanky enough, he won't be dying anytime soon, he won't be forced out of lane. But that Curse of the Silent has got to be pretty strong against the Brew, whose clap takes up most of his mana anyway. So if you at least forced him to use a clap where he's not getting CS, or getting at least some harassment onto you, you should be able to come away with the lane with a lot of extra CS that you wouldn't expect against a Brewmaster.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Silencer. It's a pretty fair matchup. I mean, you can bottle Crow with Panda, so you'll get like one clap off, and then basically you're going to be out of mana.
Yeah.
Or you can bottle up, use one clap, save a charge, and use another clap. But you have to be pretty, like, you gotta be able to work it in, and the Silencer has to, you kind of need to make the Silencer waste his spells. He needs to save his curse until after the first one, so you can get rid of the rest of the mana.
He's going to be our first blood. He takes out in the top lane because of the fact they put the Silencer mid, which is a pretty good matchup versus the Brewmaster. And then they went ahead and had the Viper in that one position. It means that they could afford to have their supports off lane, kind of, and that Viper can just routinely harass the Centaur out of lane. And especially with the Shadow Shaman, definitely one of the deadliest heroes at level 1 in these exact scenarios. The Shackles allowed them to be able to get an early kill. Korok was actually looking for a return kill here, but wasn't going to find anything with his haste rune as he runs into the two supports. Thankfully, though, I mean, really the Centaur just has to focus on not dying too much in this top lane. They do have the Enigma advantage, which is something that gives them a huge amount of extra golden experience in the laning phase, seeing as Enigma is one of, if not the fastest jungler in the game right now. And you could see MJW, he's actually going to be going for that double stacking now. With the level 4 Midnight Pulse, he may try and stack up both camps, but he does have a soul ring, so that he has that constant sustainability as well.
Yeah, he just got that. I mean, he's a free-farming jungling Enigma is, yeah, the fastest in the game, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. At least, well, I'd say like Bat and Sand King can kind of do a similar speed, but they're more like they have to amp up to it because you know you have to stack and like it takes a little longer, but it's only like 1 or 2 minutes faster as Enigma. But the good thing is you're more capable of helping throughout the whole time. So like Enigma can actually just go gank bottom and push, or you can do other things while you're also jungling instead of just, you know, stacking the jungle the whole time.
Yeah, and you're getting those consistent levels where, like, Sand King, if you have a stack and all of a sudden, like, oh, there's an enemy Bat Rider and he intercepts your stack, you're completely screwed. Like, it's just obviously much more risky to do that kind of stack farming than it is anywhere else. You can see what's happening here. Korok, well, he's going to be holding on to it. Oh, you don't actually have enough mana on 4DR. His bottle finally comes in. But I was going to say during that silence timing, he was going to be harassing with his Q, he's actually going to be leveling that up primarily over any of his other abilities. Do you think that's the right way to go about this? Do you prefer Last Word as that general like high amount of nuke damage that you get from it, or do you think Curse of the Silent is the best way to run this matchup?
I think it just sort of depends on what they plan to do as a team. I mean, if they want to gank mid at all, he needs to level up his Last Word, I think. Oh, this might be a killer here.
Yeah, the Fisher goes out, doesn't get the block, and now Korok may actually still tick out. Is the Curse of the Silent getting him low? And Clockwork actually pausing. I think he's only one more tick with that Curse of the Silent.
Yeah, I think he's going to be okay.
So
let's check the damage. We got time.
Yeah, he's got 50
damage.
It's not gonna be enough with
he'll be okay.
So he will be at least forced back here, as a bottle by itself may not be enough to keep him in lane, and it's not even back to the fountain yet. And it doesn't have a speed burst anymore. So he's probably just going to have to go all the way back, buy boots, and come back in the lane after that. So Silencer still winning the lane with that extra bit of time. He will. He's already ahead of the Brewmaster, 22-6 compared to 18-3. He'll be able to gain even more of a lead off of that one. So 40R definitely doing a great job here in this mid lane. Our off laners being compared. Klotz right now is sitting at 5-1. Has picked up a couple of CS. Nothing major. The important thing is he didn't die. He didn't give up first blood. So he's sitting at level 4. Brax, he did give up first blood, but he is going to be level 4 very soon as well, which is a bit more surprising, seeing as he's probably dealing with a more dangerous lane than the Clockwork is, as Clockwork going up against a melee hero, even if it is a Slark who has that pounce, it's going to be naturally more favorable to you than certainly going up against a Viper.
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse because, like, Centaur still doesn't have boots, and as soon as Viper gets level 6, it's just like, if Centaur overextends a little bit and there's anyone there to cancel his TP, he's dead. And even if they don't cancel his TP, he's most likely going to have to TP back to Fountain every time. So it's like, until he gets level 6 and can like actually run away or put pressure on the Viper with, you know, the threat of a Viper ultimate or a Centaur ultimate, like with follow-up from his teammates, then Viper's just going to free farm and Centaur is going to stand there and get pretty much no gold. And a Centaur with no gold is also way weaker than a Clockwork with no gold. Centaur has to get a Blink Dagger to be effective, really. Well,
Clockwork just needs to be level 6, maybe level 7. It looks like our Clockwork is going to be going for a maxed out Rocket Flare build. I know this is something that I've talked to a lot of different players about, and they seem to go pretty back and forth. One thing that I actually did learn recently, Nahaz pointed out that Rocket Flare actually does an amazing amount of damage in every game. When you go for the maxed out Rocket Flare, when it comes to hero damage done, Rocket Flare surpasses many other abilities, including all the abilities that Clockwork has, which I found interesting because normally I prefer to have that battery assault build more than anything else. Now, it looks like Clocks, they're going to try and go on him. The silence goes out. This is going to allow Snake King to hit the pounce, or maybe not. A little bit of a juke there from Clocks as he moves slightly to the right and is going to dodge that pounce and will be able to get himself away, especially with this lane pushing once again. He's going to be fed into level 5 and probably a very early level 6 at this rate.
Yeah, that was a nice dodge. The funny thing is, I think if he would have gone aggressively on Snake King right there, he might have been able to kill him, but made the safer play and just decided to stay alive and get a big wave, so I'm sure it was fine either way. I think with the Rocket Flare thing that we were talking about before, I mean, it does probably do a lot of damage, but a lot of that damage is probably sort of, I guess, damage I would call, or say that like doesn't do anything in terms of killing people, just like harass damage around the map. So over the course of a game, yeah, you'll look at his damage like, holy cow, he's owning people with that. But the other spells are the ones that actually land the kills. The other, like, Rocket is just harass. And I missed that kill. I don't know if you did.
I got it on screen. Okay, he got blocked out by the Fisher. It was a pretty simple and easy kill. He obviously wasn't going to get out. Once the Fisher block landed in our Viper, as you said, level 6, Centaur is going to have a very hard time until he picks up his ultimate now. We actually have good...
Mid, actually. If he would have landed that Crystal, he barely missed Crystal on Rock, and I think that would have killed him.
Yeah, I think so too. Fortunately, though, he'll still be able to get some room control off of pushing the Brewmaster back. And I have to say, I mean, I really like this matchup. There are obviously big downsides to the Silencer, as he doesn't have an escape mechanism, and he's very, very weak. So he definitely can be susceptible to the heavy amount of roaming that can happen. But this two-position Silencer is something that I can't say I've seen very often, once or twice in the past, but... it's working out really well here against this Brewmaster, and it's really abusing the fact that he knows he's probably not going to be ganked because there is just the Enigma who's in the jungle. Skywrath Mage has been so focused on keeping the Clockwork out that he's been unlikely to make a rotation into the mid lane. Otherwise, you leave Clockwork 1v1 up against a melee hero. That's just not what you want to see. He's going to get his fast level 6, and he'll actually be able to put a lot of pressure on Slark as well.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he'd be able to pressure Slark, but he could definitely be a threat around the map with TPs and hook shots as soon as he gets 6, so you don't want him to get that early. Right. The thing about leaving Enigma his entire jungle, which, I mean, I don't know if this was intentional or if they just didn't buy wards, like, accidentally. I'm sure it was intentional. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
But, like, when you're jungling Enigma, it's just... and you have such a free jungle, it's hard to want to do other things because he is farming so quickly and he's getting so many levels. It's like, he already has boots, soul ring, and the headdress coming to him. And it's like he could do other things around the map, but he's just farming too efficiently to want to do that.
Right.
Because if he does something around the map and fails, then it's just a huge waste of time. Whereas if he's just jungling, I mean, nothing's going to screw him up at this point, so he's having the time of his life. And that allows the other lanes for Swag and Tiger to just sort of dominate. Like if mid was afraid of an Enigma gank because the jungle was blocked up, then he'd probably have to play a little safer, and it'd be a little harder because like even with just a stun from Enigma, a level 2 stun. So say if you at level 4 Enigma got 2 points in stun instead of Midnight Pulse, he could just run mid, stun him, and the Panda and Enigma alone could probably kill Silencer. And if they wanted to be sure, they could bring Skyrath along for the kill. But I mean, I don't know if that was their reasoning for not blocking the jungle, but I mean, it's kind of working out for them in this game because of that.
Yeah, and another side benefit, I suppose, of being able to have your wards up a little bit later is that they'll be lasting through that level, that 8-minute rune. That they actually did. I wonder who bought the wards actually. As our Shadow Shaman has actually been farming up really well. He's got arcane boots already, so I'm suspecting our poor Earthshaker, who doesn't even have boots at all.
Yeah, he got them.
Yeah.
You can actually mouse over them, and it'll tell you who they're owned by. I guess someone else could have bought them, and we could have missed it, and he could have passed it to him because it's whoever places it. But yeah, I'm assuming he bought it and didn't get it passed to him.
So back into the game, we have an attempted gank possibly in this middle lane. 1437 has been sitting mid with MJW. Looks like they just want to use this early level 1 mid, black hole to try and shut down the silencer a little bit. But it doesn't look like they're going to find an opening right now. He's doing even more bottle crowing, and he may be picking up a early Midas. Now, this obviously can go into treads, very strong for a silencer for sure. But do you think an early Midas, seeing as he's doing so well in his lane right now, is viable for a silencer, or do you just want to see like the fast treads into and really early Aghanims or something like that?
Just because Navi's lineup is so like team fight oriented and like ult oriented, about like they want to fight every time their ults are up, I think he probably needs to go early game items, but it's very likely that will become a Midas. He can global and save this guy if he so chooses.
Yeah, he first gets off the Curse of the Silence, isn't going to be popping his ultimate just yet, and looks like the burnout of mana is going to prevent anyone else from Navi US from pursuing. And the teleport in, Clockwork, well, he's not level 6 just yet, so he's not going to be able to attain any pick off here, and instead was just forced to rotate. Too bad he didn't rotate like 10 seconds earlier, or else he would have been in a great position just to be able to cogs up a few people. Brax, meanwhile, has, well, I was going to say, is having a really easy time here in this top lane. Shadow Shaman just holding him in for a while. But he's going to be able to pick up his level 6 in a short amount of time, as well as boots. Thank goodness for that. That's because King RD is actually going for a dive here. Oh, another miss Curse of the Silent that's going to prevent them from what could have been a quick kill there on the Brewmaster. Teleport in from the Skywrath Mage, but unlikely to be able to do much to him as he's not level 6, so they can just right-click him down real quickly. But thankfully, with Korra coming back, he forces back the Viper and makes him a little bit too scared to continue moving forward. Unfortunately, it's going to be at the cost of all of his mana, and he will be going back to base. Lark is now rotated into the mid lane, has already landed the pounce onto King RD, and with that Midnight Pulse damage, looks like they will be able to finish him off. Enigma secures the last hit on that one. Centaur ultimate going off is now 40 yards, going to be caught out. Snake King, well, he still has his ultimate, but a beautiful Fisher block there. It's going to be able to prevent them. Snake King pops his ultimate in order to get rid of that Curse of the Silent, but has to get out of here, as Claude's trying to get in range of that Battery Assault is unable to, and Snake King, with just a sliver of mana left, was able to get off that pounce to get himself away to freedom.
Yep, Klutz is going to definitely wish he stayed bottom and farmed 6 now after he TP'd mid at 5. Like you said earlier, when Narvi dove mid, he definitely should have either TP'd way earlier or just not done it. I think he just wasn't ready for the duration of his TP, because it was like a 5-second TP. Top is getting dove.
Yeah, King RD, he does have a mech, and now the Shadow Shaman is going to come in, quickly hex up Brax, and now the turnaround is going to happen. It's Brax. He's going to be in some trouble. He's first going to get a kill on the Shadow Shaman. May take out from the Viper. One more tick, and it's not quite enough. He's left with 16 health right as his teleport goes back to Fountain. So a Brewmaster ultimate used. I mean, considering how bad of a time he was having there in that middle lane, it makes sense for him to try and make some rotations, but in the end, the Brewmaster ultimate was used for just a Shadow Shaman kill. But he did actually go for Arcane Boots, which is usually odd for a Brewmaster to see. Occasionally see it, occasionally don't. Klotz is actually going to come in, try and get a quick kill on MJW, not having enough, and now Snake King is going to be trapped inside with Klotz, but fortunately Snake King was able to get off his Dark Pact in order to get rid of that silence. Then got off the ultimate, back to top lane with Korok blocked up. Centaur ultimate going off. The last hit is not going to be enough, and he bottles through it. And Korok will be able to get himself away. The push here at this top lane may be able to put some pressure on the tier 1 tower, but unfortunately weren't able to get the quick kill.
Radiant's top tower.
Yeah,
is
they're
under
definitely in the
attack.
tower because they committed wards to it.
Yeah.
If Earthshaker would have landed his fissure instead of just blocking, he tried to block the path off with it instead of just stunning the panda. And there was like a hole that the panda walked through, and then he tried to TP. Then Korok saw Shadow Shaman was there, so he ran. And I mean, they did burn Centaur all out of it, but that's worth saving a panda for sure. And back to Arcane Boots on Panda, I definitely think it's an item you want to get against the Silencer. It's Maxing Curse of the Silent, which Korok, I'm sure, recognized very quickly. So
yeah, 100%.
Good pickup.
It's like occasionally you do see Arcane Boots on Pandas sometimes when Silencer isn't in the game, but in this particular instance, you're going up against a Curse of the Silent, maxed out Silencer. Yeah, the extra mana is definitely a must here. Otherwise, he's going to be, especially when the Aghanim's is up, he doesn't want to be that guy who's completely out of mana due to the Ag's ulti and eventually the Refresher Ag's ulti, as that would just destroy his team fight if they use it preemptively, and he runs out of mana completely.
So Silencer picks up his Midas, or it's coming to him at least,
Dire's
and Sark
bottom
went for a
tower
Blink
is
Dagger.
under attack.
Brax is still trying to farm his Blink Dagger. So Agon Tiger, I feel like they do not have damage outside of magic. If like Narvi all gets
Dire's
BKB, so say
bottom
Panda
tower
goes
is
to
under
BKB
attack.
after he gets his like Ag's Blink, and Slark gets a BKB eventually, Enigma gets a BKB eventually, and Centaur goes BKB after Blink, like they just won't do damage during that time to them. So if Swaggin Tiger wants to do this sort of Midas farming build, they need to just heavily focus on farming. They need to try and pressure Narvi and outfarm them like all around the map, and just try and get like basically go for tier 3 or like late game items like Sheeps on Silencer or Ag's Refresher. I think against like all the BKBs are going to be getting, Sheep might be better just because they need to try and pick people off rather than try and take them in a heads-up fight.
He's not going to take out from that last word. 40-yard diving in pretty deep there with the Haste Rune. He's not going to be able to get out as both the Pounce as well as the Maledict will be able to get him. Navi US rotating a lot of heroes into this middle lane in order to obtain that crucial kill and also saving the Centaur in the process. But yeah, I really wasn't expecting the Hand of Midas. Obviously, when you bring out the Gloves of Haste individually instead of going for the full-out treads, it kind of gives you a hint that it's going to be a Hand of Midas. But I really can't agree with it just because I feel like Navi US have better late game. Shadow Shaman's going to be caught out here as he does lay down the wards in time to be able to trap Korok for a short amount of time, but he's still going to be able to get himself out. Slowed down now by King RD, but if he's ever in some serious trouble, he always has that ultimate to be able to fall back on. Thankfully, the mech is going to be able to save him for the time being. Now the turnaround with the Pounce. King RD is going to be going down here. Fisher saves him for a time being. The mech goes off just in time, but he still goes down to the Skywrath Mage ultimate. That Panda ultimate trying to work on that. He's going to be taken out by the Centaur. Serpent Ward still in the back doing its work, but now they're going to surround. Black Hole goes off. They're trapped inside the cogs at the same time, and Clockwork is not going to be able to get outside of those cogs. 40-yard does obtain a kill in response on the Enigma, which gives him that extra bit of intelligence, which is obviously important, but still, this is Navi US exercising a lot of their team fight power that they have right now to be able to bully down some of these early towers, and all I see this doing is just eventually turning our Slark on the side of Navi US as a greater carry against the Silencer, who, especially if he goes for the Ag's Refresher, like I agree with what you were saying about the BKBs. If he just has the Ag's, and we have all these BKBs up by Navi US, at least 1 or 2, I feel like they're just going to steamroll Swag and Tiger enough that they'll take all the tier 2s and probably have a big gold lead off of that going into the late game.
Yeah, for sure. And that fight was disastrous for Swaggin Tiger. I mean, they were sort of doing a good job at keeping Panda and Centaur down because like those 2 heroes lost their lanes, and Narvi's lineup really relies on those 2 heroes in the early mid game to sort of put pressure on with Blink Daggers, and neither of them were even really close. But now like Centaur has 1800 and Panda has 1300, so once both those heroes get Blink Daggers, I expect Narvi to just like continuously be looking for fights against Swaggin Tiger. And Swaggin Tiger is just not really doing anything right now. They're just kind of walking on the map, like trying to pick up farm where they can, but I just feel like that they need to like be more prepared to either counter gank. Like they just didn't expect that dive middle. They need to be more prepared for Narvi's aggression because they should expect them to want to fight against them at this stage of the game.
Right. Yeah, Brax is going to be finishing up his Blink Dagger in the jungle. He already has the Tranquil Boots, so he's doing that constant double-edge Tranquil Boot spam. And we'll be picking up a Blink Dagger here in just another 10 seconds or so. Meanwhile, we saw Snaking. He's been doing a great job scouting out wards. I don't think he's pinged this one just yet, though he should kind of realize it. In fact, he pings it here, but that's going to be a bit farther down. Mid lane, they actually have Klotz, who finally makes a jump in here. His teleport away could have been stopped there by MGW, but they certainly wouldn't have been able to get a kill out of it. So he holds back. But our Shadow Shaman now has a Blink Dagger. That's a very important pickup for them if they want to be able to try and jump. Now, this gives them extra jumping power, which is really important. They were kind of lacking initiation. All they really had was the clockwork, and I felt like he was just kind of wandering the map, didn't really have anything. But now they have that extra initiation to be able to make a jump onto somebody and follow up with a silencer ultimate if necessary, which I feel that's the best hope that Swag and Tiger have, just because there's so much team fight power on Navi US that they need to be able to focus more on pickoffs for the side of the Brazilians.
Yeah, and they were relying on Clockwork to do that until Shadow Shaman got his blink, so it's a good thing he got that, because Clockwork has just been massively behind. I mean, the one thing about going this low point in battery assault build is you really don't have that much killing power by yourself.
Right.
So mid's getting jumped right now.
Oh, he actually found it snaking,
He's actually in trouble.
Yeah, he's going to die. Curse of the Silent plus the last word is going to take him out. And extra intelligence going the way of the Silencer. Those early endpoints actually mean a lot. As, poor Ned. Ned turns around, gets off the Fissure, and they may actually result in the death of 1437, depending on if 1437 tries to go up or not. He does. Klotz doesn't actually try and go for the kill, surprisingly enough. And looks like this tier 1 tower in the top lane will be going down. CNB, or Swag and Tiger rather, will be trying to force down the tier 1 tower in the bottom lane instead. And I think Navi US certainly could rotate to defend it. We already have the Enigma leading the way here. He does have his black hole up. And he actually went for the level 2 black hole, which some Enigmas do prefer to go more into the Midnight Pulse. At this point, Centaur is going to find the initiation, gets jumped. Oh, nice play here. Bug has actually turned this around, trying to go on MJW. They will be able to surround him with the Serpent Wards, but it's not quite enough. The take out MJW is definitely dead, but they'll be able to get a 2-for-1 trade here as the mass teleports in from Navi US. Will be able to ensure another kill off of that one and be able to clean up the wards, which is essentially like a third kill when it comes to gold.
Yeah, I don't think Swag and Tiger quite expected. Oh man, that mishook from Clockwork. I don't really know what his plan was there either, because I don't even think he would have been able to kill him as long as he pounced out. But yeah, they just didn't. They sort of expected that gank, but I don't think they expected like the whole team to come.
1437 is going to try and man up right here on the Silencer, but he may actually go down here instead. Yeah, sure enough, 40 hours survives with an extra 38 health, and will be able to teleport himself
really
back.
Huge. Like, they've had 2 solo kills to Silencer.
Jesus. Yeah, he also had a dominating streak on 1437, so that's a lot of extra gold as well. So that kind of boosted that Aghanims that he is over halfway to now.
I mean, he's 700 gold away, and I mean, if they take fights before Narvi finishes their BKBs, which, I mean, Panda is still incredibly far away, so if they can like jump the Panda and global over his before he casts his ultimate, with like follow up the like say Shadow Shaman or Clockwork hook him or jump him and hex him, and then follow up with the ult and then Curse the Silent him. I don't think he'll even have mana to cast his ultimate. It'll be close. It depends on how many spells they use. Like I think he'll need his magic stick. So, but either way, he's far away from BKB, which puts him at a lot of risk of dying in teamfights without using his ult if they pull it off correctly.
Right.
And you just can't be giving like such an important hero to the game. Like I said at the beginning of the game, Silencer is the king of this game, and everything revolves around his ability to like do things basically. And if you're feeding him 2 solo kills, it's just really bad.
They were going to have a Invis plus smoke rotation. Korok is the one with the Invis rune right now, and he's going to be scouting out. They're going to go immediately for the Clockwork, blow him up just super fast. Jesus, Swag had 3 different heroes that were near this bottom lane, but there was no way they could be able to respond to that kind of 5-manning here from Navi US, as it looks like they're going to be using this Enigma to try and push in the bottom tier 2, and again, using that team fight advantage that they have just to bully Swag away.
Yeah, once again, I think Swag and Tiger expected that. Like, they're like, oh, they're going to gank this guy, we're baiting him, but then they weren't really in position to do anything like you said, and then on top of that, like, even if they're in better positions, I don't think they could have done anything, just how fast Clockwork died. So, oh, they're warding middle, though, to try and take this tower, which I think they'll, at the very least, yeah, they'll force to deny for sure.
Yeah.
See if he can get it.
Yeah, the attempt to deny, right click. Oh, Rax barely claimed that one.
Panda's
Right as the
diving
Serpent
top,
Warriors were
or
going
bottom
in.
rather, as well.
Oh yeah, he's gonna throw the Viper up in the air while trying to go for Klotz. The rest of the team gonna be joining him as well. Clockwork definitely gonna die here. The Viper turns back to Earth, but he's not gonna be able to find any openings. And the 3 heroes in Navi US will back themselves up. A lot of 5-manning, but now the Aghanims is up, and now maybe Swag have an opportunity to contest this constant 5-manning here of Navi US thanks to that very powerful ultimate. When you have maxed out Curse of the Silent, it's amazing the work that Global Silence can do.
Dire's middle tower.
Yeah,
is
the
under
timing
attack.
of like the BKBs for Radiant is going to be really good right now because, like, if I was on Swag and Tiger, I would be like, okay, as soon as next Shadow Shaman Wards is up, we should definitely pick up the Aegis. I'm kind of surprised they haven't tried to do that already because I think if they would have done it earlier in the game, they could have forced a fight as long as they had Global. But now they needed the Ags Global to really be able to force a fight. And they have that, but Narvi is going to pick up their BKBs almost at the same time. Mid's going to get jumped here too. So
Yep. King RD, he needs to dodge all of this Mystic Flare damage. Fortunately, the silence goes out. 1437 is going to be forced away. But this isn't really how they wanted to use this one, especially if, well, maybe not Ned. It's in a great position for an Echo Slam. Black Hole goes off, catching both of them. Here comes the rest of the support, though. Shadow Shaman zapping Korok and forcing him away from the Viper. A 1-for-1 exchange so far, but again, not really the way you wanted to see that silencer ultimate used. You wanted to be using it offensively to get an important pick off for a great team fight. And sadly here, it was just to be able to ensure a 1-for-1 support trade. And it got very, very close to finishing off both the Centaur as well as the Skywrath Mage, but not close enough.
yeah, one thing I just kind of noticed actually because of that.
Oh, Jesus.
Snaking just happens to be there.
That
Oh,
was
he's that
unexpected.
Tower. Well, he did get the tower,
Radiant's
which
bottom tower
I
has
mean,
fallen.
but then he feeds the wards, so I don't know. Getting tier 1s at this point with Shadow Shaman ult is good, but I really am just like adamant about the power of Shadow Shaman on Dire and its ability to control Roshan, and they haven't even attempted it, so
Yeah.
I'm pretty surprised by that. And then what I was saying before that happened is Ned is grossly underleveled.
Dude, he really is.
That's why that fight went so poorly. He tried to like run in an Echo Slam, but it didn't even stun the Enigma at all because it has 1 point aftershock because of his level. So,
Yeah.
I mean, 22 minutes in the game, being a level 6 Earthshaker is like you're basically a fissure. I wouldn't even really count Echo Slam for much because if he walks into the fight, he's just gonna die. So, he needs to be looking for levels more. He's just been trying to protect his teammates too much, which I mean is important, but he needs to try and share the experience if he's going to do that, or because he doesn't really need gold. He can honestly be okay with just levels. He doesn't really need boots or a blink dagger. It helps a lot, but he can get that later. But experience is super important at this like part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't until like not long ago he was still in the triple digits when it came to net worth. You know, that's any support is just gonna be suffering really badly if you're that under farmed. But an Earthshaker especially, as he does depend on some basic amount of farm. You'd love to be able to have arcane boots, blink daggers a must later on. Klotz, well, he's gonna be ganked up once again. Blade Mail is not gonna protect him as the damage is coming in from too many other sources. And 23 minutes in, it looks like Navi US are finally going to mount a final push here that is going to be able to get themselves one of those tier 2 towers. As the last time they did it, they kind of went for a dive. Snake King
Radiant's top tower
going to be
is
checking out
under
the secret
attack.
shop here, but he may run directly into the Shadow Shaman and Earthshaker and be routinely hexed up. Run into each other, does get off the Dark Pack, and this will put him in a great position to clean up one of these supports as they're both going to fall. With Korok being able to get around Ned, block him out, and now a jump on the 40R as well. Who has his ultimate, he's going to try and turn this fight, but the Mystic Flare comes out, and it's too late for him. He holds on to his ultimate, knowing that it wasn't going to do anything. And even if he did pop it again,
Dire's
Snake King
bottom
had the
tower has
BKB.
fallen.
So as you said, those early timings for the BKB are going to make a big difference now that they're facing up against that Aghanim's ultimate. It felt like Swag and Tiger just really didn't try and force it as much as they could have with that upgrade.
Yeah, they haven't really been together as a team at all this game. I mean, like I said at the beginning of the game, I think they
Dire's middle
want to
tower
try.
has fallen.
Like, as the Radiant wants to avoid fights when Global is up, but like Swag and Tiger definitely needs to be taking fights when they have the Global, so it's just obviously the opposite. I don't know. I made this sound way more complicated than it was. Swag and Tiger wants to take fights when Silencer ult is up, and they really didn't do it. They used it just to like get ganks, or they used it to try and avoid dying. So they've been really like misusing it, and the clockwork also has kind of been a non-factor.
Yeah, he definitely has. Another missed hook shot there. I'm not sure if that was really a fight he wanted to take or not, as his allies were a bit farther back. But he's definitely been missing a lot of hook shots. We kind of criticized his early rotations that he made. Not being able to have that early level 6 probably played a huge factor on his impact the rest of the game, as not being able to get one of those early kills for his team has transitioned to him just kind of constantly floundering. And the lack of battery assault damage as well has prevented him from getting several kills.
Yeah, I was saying at the beginning, or I guess early part of the game, like Centaur is a gold dependent, really gold dependent offlaner. I'd say Clockwork is a very level dependent offlaner, like in comparison to other ones. So he sort of just didn't. I mean, 6 is the key level, but the other levels are also important. But he just did not get even 6 until way too late. Like he was doing great in lane, and then it just TP'd mid and just wandered around. It didn't get 6 for another like 2 minutes. So 2 minutes between like the like 8 to 10 minute or 6 to 10 minute mark is an eternity. Like the games can be won or lost basically between the 6 and 10 minute mark. So the like support rotations and the offlane rotations, everyone's rotations during that time, if they succeed, they can win you the game, and if you like try and do some big rotations and fail, you can lose the game. And I feel like Swag and Tiger won the laning phase, and then they had some really like awkward rotations and bad fights, and they lost the advantage they got from the laning phase. And then they just sort of got picked apart by the Blink Daggers that NRV picked up because of those botched rotations. So I think they can still come back if they take some really good fights, but I don't think that that's going to happen because of the... Oh, that's...
Apparently, 143 said was still going to be able to get away from that one. We had a botched hook shot once again from Klutz. I kind of want to like just almost have... You remember that old dash HA? Which would give your hook accuracy for the pudge in the game. I kind of want to have that for the Clockwork, just because Klutz, I don't try and clown on players too often, but this guy has just been missing hook shots left and right. There's no other way to put it. It's just, I think he's missed more than he's hit at this point, which is not what, like, that cannot happen for Clockwork players. Like,
especially when it's so core to their lineup. I mean, you can pick a Clockwork where you don't rely that heavily on the hook. Like, they could have literally, if they wanted to, just have Clockwork cancel black holes, which I think was sort of the intention, but they're not really having any initiation without him, so, especially during the early game, until the Ross had Blink, they needed him to hit those hook shots to initiate, and then they could just follow up with, like, global, but they were always the ones getting initiated on. Narvi was always like wrapping, like they had 2 dives.
Oh, Snake King just goes ahead and pops the BKB. He's going to run in and kill a couple of heroes now. MGW has already gotten off his BKB. On the side, we have a 2-man stun plus the black hole on King RG. Now the Silencer ultimate goes off, but it's way too late into the team fight. He used it to stop that black hole, but everybody's already dead anyway. Both the Silencer and the Clockwork will get out. Well, Clockwork is actually going to be trying to go for Korok here, as Korok no longer has the mana. Actually pops his wand, I think, in order to give him the mana required. And now with this Aghanims upgrade, he's going to be able to take down Klutz and get himself out of this team fight. He went from basically being in a really bad position, almost dying to that Clockwork 1v1, into being able to get the Clockwork kill and still be able to get his ass out of there.
Like, that was the fight they needed to take, and I think they were too hesitant with using the global. Like, they needed to use the global right when Snake King jumped in, and they should have just, like, globaled and just all went on him and right-clicked him through the global, because if Snake King's in there by himself and they're all just right-clicking him, he'll die quickly. I mean, Sark's not that tanky of a hero with just those items he has. Or at the very least, they'll force out his ultimate. Like, they didn't do anything. They just sort of all panicked and ran around. They are going on him right here, though, and this should be a dead Snake King. I would certainly hope. All right. Yeah. They had to burn a lot for it, but they needed that more than anything, and it's good use Echo Slam, so it's worth it. But what I was saying is they could have relied on the Clockwork there to cancel the hook, or the black hole. Like, I think 40R was trying to save global for black hole, but that's a situation where you just use it to like actually get into the fight, and then you use something else to cancel the black hole. And he saved it, like you said, until they used it to TP away, basically. I mean, it's been the story of this game. Silencers not getting good ultimates, and Earthshaker and Clockwork are kind of not really putting any pressure on Narvi, and they're just getting picked apart. So Silencer gets picked and doesn't like use his ultimate effectively, you're just going to have a hard time.
Looks like they want to try and maybe do Roshan sometime soon, as they're getting up Roshan wards. They seem to be centering themselves for it. But we actually have Korok here is just being manly as all hell, despite the fact that he doesn't have his ultimate. Brax is going to be able to get away from Klutz there. Korok is going to be spotted eventually here, but I think it's going to be too late, as his ultimate is up in just another 10 seconds. So at the end of the day, we really see, once again, Swag and Tiger just not really doing anything. We have a Viper farming the bottom lane, but a Viper at 30 minutes, like, you don't really get any other items after this. Your time is kind of over after the 35-minute mark. And when it comes to farm, you don't really get anything else on a Viper at this point. He obviously still needs to build his Ags, but it's certainly not going to do much against this carry Slark. That's for sure. Korak managed to find a big blink critical onto the courier, and now they're actually going to try and turn onto Korak, get him down as soon as possible. He does still have his ultimate, but if they hold him in, he will be going down with the silencer ult on him. Klotz, meanwhile, land the hook shot, buddy. You got to be able to get this one. Snake King's actually going to jump in and kill the Earthshaker real quick, and with the Scotty he already has, is going to focus down the silencer, who's decently tanky, but not tanky enough to be taking on Snake King, who pops his ultimate and will be able to get in those last couple of right clicks. Locked inside the cogs, though. Mystic Flare jumping down. Klotz is actually going to try and get himself away, and Snake King, thanks to that cogs that did catch him for a while there, did actually go down to Swag and Tiger. So in the end, they actually got a really good trade for that. They lost their silencer, which really sucks, especially since he wasn't able to steal some of that intelligence, but they still picked off both Korok as well as Snake King, two of the biggest cores on the side of Navi US.
Yeah, Silencer's also close to his refresher, so he really wants to try and finish that, but I feel like they probably could have actually saved Silencer there and killed the Slark faster, but they were trying to... I couldn't really tell if they were trying to go for the Skywrath kill as well, or if they were just trying to zone him out, but if they just weren't really focusing the Slark once again. Everyone was kind of just like staring at him because he had his BKB up, and people think like when BKB's up they're immune to everything, so they don't try and like right click on him or anything. They just all... Like, Klotz was just running back and forth. I think he was trying to block maybe his leap, but he had hookshot to follow up if he left away, so I don't know if that was necessary. But, I don't know. That was kind of a weird just situation where everyone was holding onto their spells for too long, but they did, like you said, it was still good for them. It just, that was like, if they saved Silencer there and killed Slark, that's like a game-changing almost situation, whereas instead it was just okay.
King RD, well, he does pop the BKB. He's still locked inside this black hole. Maybe a good Fissure block could come in. Klotz actually going to try and block out some of these heroes. The Fissure will be able to block out some of these, but they're still going to be able to catch up to King RD, blow him up with both the Mystic Flare as well as the Centaur Stomp, and be able to catch the Shadow Shaman in the process. 4DR is just going to be hoping for one quick kill on the Centaur, but he's not even going to get that much as he's quickly surrounded and taken down. And Snake King is here for the cleanup, but Swag and Tiger have already called the GG.
That about sums it up. They just got picked apart by the Blink Daggers, and by the time they finally had the relevant items on Silencer, everyone had BKBs on Narvi. I mean, I think they needed to use Roshan and Global, so use the roster words on Roshan and use Global to force fights earlier in that game. And then they just needed to not get dove. Like that mid dive where they fought at the tier 1 and they like 4-man wiped them. They just did not see that coming at all. Krok literally just walked behind the tower, walked up and clapped them and killed them. And then the bottom tier 2 Snaking did the exact same thing to them. So they just got caught twice in an awkward situation and lost 2 huge team fights, which was the main reason why they lost, but there was other reasons.
All right, well, guys, as it is a 2-game series, it means we're going to take a short little break and get into Game 2 with Swag and Tiger versus Navi US. And I believe, as I'm going to say it right here on stream, that we're going to have MSS in for Game 2 because I'm holding him to his promise he made me. So we're going to have special guest MSS joining Pandago and I for Game 2.